Nathan Turvery.
BBC Hereford and Worcester.
Monday night then. Now, as we've been hearing in the news, extra money's been announced for those seriously affected by hepatitis C after receiving contaminated NHS blood transfusions in the 1970s and 80s. It follows a review into compensation payments for patients with advanced liver disease. One-off payments will be doubled to £50,000, and there'll also be annual payments of £12,800. In the Commons, the Health Secretary Andrew Lansley said he hoped this would make a difference.
Today's announcements cannot remove the pain and distress these individuals and families have suffered over the years. But I hope these measures can at least bring some comfort, some consolation, and perhaps even some closure for those affected.
Let's talk now to Colette Wintle from Worcester, one of those affected by bad blood donations, and has been campaigning for the government to follow through with their recommendations. Thanks for coming in again this evening, Colette.
It's a pleasure.
Are you happy with what Andrew Lansley's saying there?
No, far from happy, and I think he is seriously deluded if he believes that the measures that have been discussed today in the House and the lack of substantive package that people were hoping for is going to bring closure. I think it's a sad situation that, you know, yet again this government has missed an opportunity to do what the recommendations that Lord Archer suggested and put in place. They've refused to do that, and unfortunately the levels of compensation, or ex gratia as they're referring to it, do not in any way reflect the seriousness of these NHS diseases. And we are talking about killer diseases. They are not curable. HIV is not curable, and hepatitis C is certainly not curable. So to say and suggest that my life is worth an extra 25,000, which is all I will be able to apply for, is appalling.
What are you hoping to get then? What sort of figure would you say was more acceptable?
Well, I think when you consider that my health has been destroyed and I have lost out on a normal life that I should have been able to have, and I am now facing the possibility of developing cancer because I have the later stages of liver disease now, I don't consider that the sum of money that I am being compensated with in any way reflects that harm and damage, and it certainly won't replace the loss of earnings for 20 years, the loss of life insurance and all the other financial losses that I have incurred as a result of something that was done to me by the state. And let's be clear here, this was a state provision of unfit for purpose blood products which have harmed a whole community and killed 2,000, and I'm appalled that he believes that closure can be achieved now at this stage, and I will not stop in my campaigning efforts. I'm deeply aggrieved by the announcements. My husband, I'm sure when he finds out, will be furious, knowing that I've put 15 hard years of campaigning into trying to achieve proper justice, and we haven't had it yet.
I suppose there will be those that say at least this is some kind of compensation. It's some kind of recognition of what happened back then in the 1970s and 80s. So it's a step in the right direction. Would you not agree with that?
I think if you asked the average person if they thought that 25 or 50,000 was a proper level of compensation when you've been injected with HIV and hepatitis viruses, most people would say that is paltry and it's not a proper recognition. I certainly can say from my own point of view that if I was to total up the earnings alone that I have lost out on, then we're talking about, you know, nearer £500,000, and then we haven't compensated for the multiple viruses. So no, I don't think it's in any way could be considered compensation. And when I think about the fact that I have two cousins in Ireland whose government did acknowledge the harm that was caused to them and compensated on moral grounds, not the grounds that the Minister has said today. He has tried to suggest to the House that liability was found in Ireland and that fault was found, and that is why the government were forced to pay out on average £750,000 per individual. He is quite wrong, and I have the evidence from 2004 when I wrote to the government over there and the lawyers, and they clearly outlined in their response that the Irish government were simply acknowledging the harm that they had caused to the haemophiliacs in that country. But our government is quite unable to do the same, and I know perfectly well it's on the grounds of costs.
You mentioned there, you've been, as we know, you've been campaigning for many years.
Yes.
So I think it's pretty clear from what you're saying that your campaigning is by no means coming to an end because of this. If anything, you're going to fight even more.
It has strengthened my resolve to do just that, because I cannot walk away from this injustice. And I'm deeply disappointed that, having had several meetings with the Health Minister for Public Health, Anne Milton, and outlining in very clear detail what closure would mean for this, the community as a whole, and for individuals like myself, that was made very clear to her. So I am absolutely flabbergasted that they have chosen to go for such a low payout and expect people to grab it and be happy about that. And it's dreadful that just in the last month, yet another key campaigner lost his life and died in Spain, and his family were so financially bereft that they had to cremate him in Spain. They couldn't afford to bring his body back home. That was announced in the House today. But I wonder how the Minister and ministers in the Health Department would feel if they were going through the same experience. How would they feel? And would they feel what was offered today was proper compensation and a sorry? I don't think they would.
Colette, thank you very much indeed for coming in again. Colette Wintle from Worcester, one of those affected by those blood donations, campaigning for many years, as you were hearing, says that the amount of compensation being offered is an insult, doubled to £50,000 and an annual payment of £12,800. Do you agree? 0845 300 8181 is our number as always. If you want to join in the debate on that one, we'll call you back. All on that text. Start your message HW and send it to 81333.